E- E-commerce grew and 10 years of growth were crammed into just few months. Digitization and automation grew because they had to. This was true for everything from employee collaboration to customer channel to supply chains. Some jobs are moving quickly toward remote and hybrid work, which has opened the gates to long-term workforce optimization. More than half of executives say that remote and hybrid work models have led to higher individuals and team productivity. Large-scale government led to new business models like virtual healthcare. The rise in technological advancement helped make 2021 the year that entrepreneurs took center stage. There were 400 new unicorn companies and venture capitalists raised a record amount of money. In the next months, there will certainly be hazards ranging from the economic to geopolitical. And it is important to remember that this risk should not be underestimated. Those who are able to successfully negotiate the adversities, on the other hand, may be able to unlock the potential to a second boost to growth. In the midst of our normalcy, we must be on the lookout for any future disturbances, such as bullish inflation. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is surging at a rate that hasn't been seen in the last 2 generations. A company's ability to successfully handle the back and forth of inflation in a given industry, whether it is driven by burgeoning demand or supply restrictions, might help it acquire market leadership. Next, labor mismatch. More and more workers are deciding to leave their positions. In the past year, voluntary attrition has risen, while involuntary attrition has declined nearly in a lockstep. Employers must weigh their options when it comes to investing the employee, training, and productivity boosting equipment. Digital solutions can help organizations overcome some of the labor shortages, stumbling blocks, but they aren't only the solutions. Companies who were able to solve the supply chain puzzle accomplished by leveraging pre-existing sophisticated analytic tools and according to the findings of the research. Next, new COVID-19 variants impacts. More concerns than answers about the infectiousness, immune evasions, and severity of COVID-19's Omicron and Delta variants are being raised as they spread. As the epidemic enters in its third phase, it is likely to be a test of leadership's abilities, clarifying purpose, assisting stakeholders, and strengthening emotional and organizational resilience are three imperatives that leaders may wish to consider pursuing further. Next, geopolitical uncertainties. The geopolitical tension throughout the world is rising in many different regions. Businesses would wish to try to anticipate and respond to prospective government action in a critical sectors while also identifying areas of global collaboration on trade, climate, and technology. This could be a good strategy for both businesses and the government. And lastly, energy market volatility. With natural gas prices rising and more volatility projected in the coming year, the last year has been seen major increases in energy prices. There are other dangers that come with the energy transition, such as growth investment being crowded out, customers not being able to pay the bill, and the grid infrastructure being vulnerable. Those risks will be managed by leading companies as they meet their net zero objectives. How? First, be on the lookout for innovative value. Throughout the course of business history, companies have often relied on a laundry list of justifications to avoid undergoing challenging and costly reforms. However, a growing number of people are coming to the realization that in order to keep up with the rapid shifts that are taking place in the market and maintains one levels of success or even to live, one must have the bravery to take risks and make organizations need to make the necessary investment of time and mental effort to build a crystal clear vision of how and where they need to progress. Then plan for the transformation and put that change into action. And then embrace digital. It is imperative that businesses immediately adjust to the significant shift toward digital and remote working patterns as well as shopping trends. The basic way in which customers go about their shopping is undergoing fundamental shifts, and several of these innovative models have already proven to be successful and well received that is nearly guaranteed that they will remain in use. The most successful businesses are those who are particularly careful about the omnichannel nature of digital. So consequently, using new technology building blocks in the likes of voice recognition, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, robotics, 5G connectivity, and even IoT or Internet of Things can create new products and solutions, especially in the supply chain ecosystem, wherein we prioritize customer experience. Over 70% of consumers in 39 nations have changed their purchasing habits since the pandemic began. They're changing brands, platforms, and where they shop. This tidal change has reinvigorated the focus on knowing clients at a far more granular level and on developing deeper relationships towards enhanced customization and new services. To remain competitive in the face of the pandemic, businesses must develop new algorithms that do not depend on data analytics to provide comprehensive views into their customers' behavior. In order to keep their customers from going elsewhere, businesses must also consider how to better comprehend the forces that shape shifting demands from their customers. In fact, technology that enables teams is a reality. While technology alone isn't enough to guarantee success, businesses must keep an eye on the latest and best innovations that may not truly fit their needs. To take advantage of the insights that data and technology may provide, new procedures and teams must be established. Additionally, teams must be given more freedom to discover new opportunities and promptly make judgments. To empower these teams, good data and guidelines are essential. This is a lesson that is all too often overlooked during transitions, resulting in the failure of even most promising efforts. So the last 2 years have elevated the topic of the plumbing of global trade up to the top agenda in the newsrooms and the boardrooms, where it had previously been a rare subject of conversation. Today's global chains are vulnerable, as shown by the COVID-19 problem, post-pandemic economic repercussions, and the ongoing conflict in Russia and UK. Fragmented and consumerist world will need to be redesigned. Traditional supply chain aim to keep costs down and provide stability. So supply chain of the future will have to be far more dynamic, able to anticipate, prepare, and respond to fast-growing demand in a constantly changing products and channel mix. It is time for a paradigm shift in supply chain agility. So allow me to give you a quick glimpse into the future trends that will affect the ecosystem of supply chains. Plan for the supply chain impacts of automation and migration. So there will be increased volatility in the labor dynamics of supply chains as a result of mass migration on a scale that was previously unimaginable, which, when combined with projections and significant numbers of workers, will be displaced by automation. Means that companies will need to evolve their approaches in accordance with these changes. By fostering responsible and inclusive labor practices, businesses have the ability to reduce the impact of this instability. Next, build responsible regional sourcing hubs. Understanding new consumption habits and preferences, as well as supplying goods and services in new locations and formats, will be required in order to meet customers' needs for personalized, on-demand goods and services, while also allowing for growth in new areas and demographics. As a direct result of this development, leaders of supply chains will have the opportunity to create adaptable regional suppliers network that are capable of satisfying both commercial expectations and sustainability goals that have been set. Next, digitalize supplier assessment and engagement. Because more data pertaining to supply chains is being produced and shared than at any other time in history, leaders of supply chains have the chance to rethink the way in which they gather and understand the information pertaining to supply chains. In a sea of data and dashboards that are available now, practitioners will need to zero in on the supply chain information that is valuable for making decisions. Additionally, they will need to reassess which data they need to commission and how it should be gathered. Obstinate labor issues such as wages, working hours, and safety are likely to be completely replaced by new challenges such as responsible downsizing and reskilling of supply chain workers that are likely to be disrupted by automation. Next, strengthen supply chain transparency and disclosure. Futuristic supply chain leaders can prepare for a variety of future scenarios by increasing visibility into supply chain practices and disclosures about those practices in the context of high level of uncertainty about the future of global trade and regulations that even shape mandatory corporate disclosures about sourcing practices. Greater transparency will be helpful to supply chain executives if political moves toward economic nationalism transforms global commerce. But it is also important if free trade will continues. Embed climate smart supply chain planning. Global climate change poses a number of new challenges, including the need for enterprise to reevaluate the supply chains in the light of new materials and resources, as well as the necessity to integrate climate change readiness into their supply chain planning models. Suppliers who are behind their peers in climate knowledge and actions will need to work companies that share their commitment. They will also need support from companies that are willing to cooperate with them. Countries like China and India, where governmental commitments toward a low carbon economy are well established and are expected to step up their efforts in global customers' plans for climate savvy global supply chains. And lastly, innovating and collaborating with suppliers. The management of relationships with suppliers is at the core of many today's most successful procurement companies. When considering the future, procurement teams will increasingly look to suppliers for innovations in products and processes, as well as opportunities to work on areas that will be beneficial to both parties. For instance, businesses will describe potential to improve demand planning and inventory management in conjunction with their suppliers. Others emphasize the necessity to improve their supplier development platforms in order to accomplish public-facing sustainability goals such as science-based climate targets in order to be successful. So having said that, we at Eastern are dedicated to providing the best possible service to our clients and staff while also putting their needs above all. We take time to understand their needs, provide relevant products and services, and provide exceptional customer service. Having a heart of service in all that we do is at the core of our culture as your trusted Ka-Eastern. On top of solid and reliable technology, delighting our customer is at the forefront of our brand of personalized service because human connections are equally important. We recognize that our customers' needs have shifted and will continue to shift in order to adapt the new ways of working, which is why we strengthen our ICT portfolio to help our customers be in a better position to emerge stronger and be better prepared for future disruptions. In addition to our connectivity solutions, we have a healthy suite of network, cybersecurity, cloud and data center, and business application solutions to address your business needs. And as a testament to our innovative spirit, we just recently unveiled our Eastern Experience Center. We've made it our mission to immerse ourselves in helping businesses to grow and families to stay in touch as long as possible in order to continue to contribute to nation building. We provide assistance to the underprivileged populations around the country while simultaneously pursuing expansion into further regions and territories, all with the goal of fortifying your future. These are but a few of things that we do here at Eastern, and we sincerely hope that you are able to draw motivations and directions from them as you work toward a successful outcome. Stay tuned, Ka-Eastern, and I'll see you again in just a few. Thank you so much. Back to you, Carla.
Thank you so much, Sir Dindo Cabatingan, of course, our own Ka-Eastern. Good to hear from you. And, as he described, business and technology are very much alive. They're not static at all when it comes to, moving forward or how to make our decisions. They're both very dynamic, very alive things to be dealing with. So I think it's always really great to start off with a pulse check by our own Ka-Eastern. So again, thank you, Sir Dindo. More from him later. Now, once again, everyone, don't forget, we have those trivia questions that are popping up in the chat box right about now. So make sure you keep an eye on that and try and answer them correctly, because 5 of you will be winning some special giveaway vouchers just for getting that right. Easy peasy, right? All right, let's keep the ball rolling here. On to our keynote speaker of the day. A little bit about him. He is currently part of the Committee on Transport and Logistics of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and is among the pioneer mentors of the ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network. He is also co-founder and chief executive officer of Insight SCS, a technology logistics startup, and vice president of strategic solutions of XVC Logistics, which is a logistics service provider. Let's welcome to our screens the president of the Supply Chain Management Association of the Philippines, the premier supply chain organization in the country. In this role, he leads efforts to push for regulatory and policy reforms benefiting the industry and expanding supply chain education. Let's all welcome Mr. Pierre Carlo Curay.
Thank you, Carla. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very for this opportunity for me to share industry, especially working with a great company like Eastern. Let me start it off. So I'm here to talk about. Let me just open up my screen. Okay. There we go. So I'm here to talk about future-proofing the supply chain. Right? So how to adapt to disruptions. I'm sure there's so much disruption that's been happening in the past few years, right? So what I'll do is I'll talk about the current the industry overview, supply chain overview of our country, and also the current challenges, both locally and globally. And then what's the current trends, and then finally some opportunities, right? So let me start it off. So a snapshot of the Philippine logistics, right? So we have 7,641 islands and approximately 300 square kilometers, and we're actually the 7th highest number of islands in the world, right? And we have, among the 7,000, there are 2,000 inhabited islands. So just imagine the supply chain nightmare or the complexity to deliver to all of these inhabited islands, right? And how it's going to be difficult to deliver. You have to do multimodal. You have to go through land, sea, air, right? So delivery is pretty complex here in the Philippines. We have one of the best supply chain practitioners because of this complexity. It really hones a lot of our supply chain practitioners, and they're able to bring their talents abroad actually. And then aside from that, we have 110 million population. I think we're second in ASEAN, right? One of the highest in population all over the world. And just imagine the complexity of this. So delivering to all of these islands, to all of the inhabited islands, to all of this 110 million population, I hope it gives you a picture of how difficult and complex that can be, right? So let's talk about challenges, right? So sa ASEAN, we're 25%. Our logistics cost to sales is 25%. So just to put it, to just give perspective, just imagine every product that you bought, every product that you got, even online, 25% of that is actually logistics costs, right? So our common cost. So imagine about 25%, 1/4 of it of the product is already all about just bringing it to you, right? An average, the logistic cost is around 10%. It can be lower, especially for developed countries. I think Vietnam is around 17%. Thailand is around, if I remember correctly, around less than 10%. So we are the highest actually among ASEAN neighbors. I think Indonesia, which has also a lot of islands, but double our population, and I think double our islands, around 21%. And yeah, and then there we go. 10% of average logistics costs, around 10% for other developed countries. So you just see how big it is. Our cost for logistics is double. And why? The average, just to drill it down further, especially here in Metro Manila, the average truck deliveries per day is only one, or sometimes it takes 2 days to deliver one product, right? What used to be trucking before, we're able to deliver maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we're able to deliver 3 to 5 times deliveries per day per truck, right? And because of a lot of the challenges, traffic, color coding, truck ban, so it greatly reduces the number of deliveries per day. At the same time, increases the cost, right? So because if you can do less, the cost would really increase. So those are the some of the challenges in the industry right now. So, and I don't need to say this, but I'm sure you've seen the major challenge that happened to supply chain logistics during the pandemic, right? Everybody's in lockdown. So for the past 2 years, it's all about supply chain, all about how to make sure how to deliver the products. And that's the major catalyst. So it's a good thing now. It's opening a little bit. Now people are able to go around, but still things has changed, which I'll emphasize more later. So another challenge that we have aside from the pandemic is we're constantly visited by typhoons, by earthquakes. Just earlier, earthquakes, right? 7.1 earthquake in the north, right, which we felt here. So I've seen already reports. The earthquakes already affected some of the roads. There was a lot of landslide, especially in the mountainous areas, which blocked roads. So that's already a disruption, right? So aside from that, there's also volcanic eruption like Taal, and then the one in Sorsogon. So everything will affect the supply chain. Everything are disruptions, right? So for example, if typhoons happen, the link between Matnog and Sorsogon, the Roro link or the sea freight link, automatically is stopped, right? So if it's stopped, it gets delayed. Transport and delivery gets delayed. The turnaround gets delayed. So these are really challenges that increase the cost of our logistics. So way back in 2021, 2020, the cost of logistics already, because of the pandemic, was already increasing, right? So, but the thing is, we thought that the high prices before is going to settle in 2022, but unfortunately, it didn't, because of some logistics costs has been increasing. Because there's a lot of port congestions, meaning a lot of the different ports, both globally and locally, it takes a while to unload goods. So the turnaround becomes lower, and if it becomes lower, it's really expensive. In fact, if you notice, at some places, diesel is more expensive. There were a time that diesel were more expensive than gasoline, right? So who would have thought that would happen? Diesel used to be 10 pesos less compared to gasoline. So and the challenge still continues because it was started really for this year. At the early part of this year, before the war happened, we thought it's gonna be smooth sailing. We saw that there was a lower incidents during the start of the year, when there was an increase in during the pandemic, the increase in affected people. But the war happened, and it really threw a wrench in everybody's plans, right? So fuel has increased dramatically. Wheat, food has increased dramatically. Ukraine and Russia supplies, I think, 1/3 or 1/4 of the global wheat supply, sunflower oil supply. I don't know if also corn, but all of these commodities are actually raw materials, right? For feeds, for flour, for bread. So as these costs increase, it affects. That's why one major problem now is really food insecurity, right? And that's something that we need to tackle fast. And it's all about the supply chain, right? Just imagine, I'm sure not everybody here in the Philippines would know where Ukraine is, right? No, but because of the integrated, how interconnected we are in the supply chain, global supply chain, a war in a different area, far from us, thousands of in Ukraine, in Russia, ends not only for all of us, but also for the people there, so that we can go back to normal, what normal was, right? So just and all of the challenges early this year. Last year there was a lack of supply for products, so now there's a problem in the US for the likes of Target, Amazon, Costco, because they were thinking 2022 will be the banner year, right? 2021 there was a lack of products in the stores. There were a lot of shutouts. There were a lot of inventory, lack of inventory. So what they did was 2022, before the 2022 start, they took a lot of inventory. They bought a lot of inventory, hoping and seeing, projecting that 2022 will be the banner year, right? So now their major problem is that sales has dropped down because of the aside from the pandemic, but also the war. But they have a high inventory flow, meaning that they're holding a lot of inventory, which holds a lot of their cash. And holding an inventory very long is actually increasing costs, because there's cost in storage, there's cost of money of holding that inventory. So that's one of the biggest challenges this year, right? So this is something that really threw a wrench in everybody's plan, right? You were thinking that you're going to be selling a lot this year, so that you bought a lot of inventory, but because of the challenges that I've stated, lower people are not buying, right? So these are again problem to our company. So this is another trend that we're looking at. Globally, because of the interconnectedness of our supply chain with other countries globally, whatever happens in California, the port congestion there, whatever happens in Shanghai, China, the shutdown in the ports, whatever happens in Ukraine and Russia, affects everybody. Affects Africa, affects the Philippines, affects Vietnam. So it's really a global a problem, and it's all about supply chain. So if you look at the news, a lot of the problems are really saying, disruption in the supply chain, which is true. So that's really the challenges right now, and we're seeing that these challenges will persist. So the nice thing about, I was listening to the State of the Nation address yesterday, and key priorities focus on the supply chain is really focusing on the value chain for our farmers, for our SMEs, for our people, connecting everybody into a value chain approach, because currently everybody's fragmented. SMEs or farmers have their own way. They're not connected to the buyer. So the nice thing for the news yesterday is that it's going to be a value chain approach. Secondly, infrastructure. So we've seen already with the previous build, we've seen a lot of benefits already that's happening in supply chain, right? So for example, the Skyway Stage 3, what used to be 2 hours to 3 hours from south to north, it's now just 30 minutes. So with that speed of transport, it can speed up also the deliveries, right? Rather than delivering only once or twice a day, it can be faster. You can be back in 1 hour, do another set of deliveries, which drives down the cost of the driver, of the transport, if you can do more deliveries in a day. I'm also hopeful with 2 projects, particularly the Bataan Cavite bridge, that will really create a lot of efficiencies and savings in the supply chain, because rather than taking the boat, you're just gonna take the road, so it's faster. With the other highways that has been shown, that has been built, for example, Baguio, Benguet, Baguio is now only 3 hours. What used to be 6 hours before, right? So cut the delivery, cut the transport by twice. So we can deliver faster. Another project is what I'm really hopeful is the rail project from all the way from the north to the so from Bulacan to Subic all the way to Sorsogon, Matnog to Bicol. So the one that they develop right now for transporting people is already half the cost and half the time, right? So if you can bring that rail facility to cargo, just imagine bringing down your cost by half, right? So that will really help. I truly believe infrastructure will truly help bring down our cost and really help in the challenges in the supply chain, especially in our industry. And thirdly, digitalization. So for the many years right now, digitalization has been has been really the focus of government all over, not only here. And it's because with the lockdown, with the pandemic, in fact, digitalization has been pushed forward by 10 years, 5 to 10 years, right? So we're actually living the future right now. People are now using GCash, digital payments. They're looking at increasing that number. Every year, BSP is looking to push that forward more. People are used to ordering from apps. People are using different types of apps or different types of services online. Like for example, now what we used to be, we need to go to each place. Now we can do it here via Zoom, via this type of platform, and then we can do a lot of things more, right? So just now I'm going to talk about some trends, right? So the good thing with our government right now is a focus on those three things, right? And there's a reason why. So when we measure logistics performance, there's three measures like cost, time, and reliability, right? So how much is the delivery, how long it will take, and then how reliable it is, when will it arrive, right? So these three dimensions really affects. It's like a triangle, right? So sometimes if you focus on cost, the higher the cost, the faster the delivery. If you want to focus on reliability, normally speed might will be higher. So again, cost will be increased. If you want lower costs, the reliability will be slower. So it's really a balance of all these three, right? And as a supply chain practitioner, all about supply chain, you have to find the balance in the lowest cost, the faster delivery time, this faster speed, and the faster reliability. So all of the supply chain practitioners, this is like the focus and the goal. So way back 2017, when we were looking at performance, cost, time, and reliability, cost was like the biggest number. It used to be, I think, they're almost the same, but the biggest number was cost. And then second was reliability, and then third was time. Kaya before, when you look at it, delivery times were a week, 1 month sometimes, or even longer, but the costs were lower. But there's a sudden shift with the pandemic, right? So like what Dindo shared earlier, there's really a sudden shift after the pandemic. So now it's all about reliability. Cost is around 10% na lang. So people are not looking at cost. So they're looking at products that they want they're delivered because they see there's a lot of opportunity loss. For example, if you're a manufacturing company, if the raw materials that didn't arrive on time, your cost runs, right? Your cost of the plant, your cost of the you cannot continue. So there's a lot of opportunity costs. So the biggest importance now is reliability. Second is speed, right? And then lastly, cost is around only 10% na lang. So it's really all about reliability. And when this happens, right, there's a sudden shift of the need for ensuring the delivery. Before I go to the next slide, so the importance now of an integrated supply chain, meaning information flow is much more important now because let's face it, all of us actually are when we order online, we want to know where is it, when it's going to arrive. Is it going to arrive today, tomorrow? Sometimes, diba, if the delivery time is next day, sometimes you don't order, we look for someone else, right? So information is key right now. And just an example for FMCGs like Nestle, Unilever, they for the longest time, PNG, for the longest time, they know their whole supply chain, right? And that's why they're able to bring high quality and lower cost products, right? I always ask why a kilo of vegetables is more expensive than a can of sardines, right? Because of the efficiencies of the integrated approach of their supply chains, right? And now our focus is really on reliability. So the more information that is being shared, the more connected each part of the supply chain, the more transparent, like everything what Sir Dindo said earlier, right? Everything more cost effective and more reliable, right? So that's really the trend now. It's all about reliability. So and you know, that's where digitalization, that's where the internet comes in, right? Like, and we're very thankful that like of Eastern having our backs, they want to connect us all, right? So that's really where the trend is. An integrated nature of the supply chain will help us adapt in any disruption. So I'll give two examples, right? So Amazon, before the pandemic, even before the pandemic, they're already doing an integrated supply chain, meaning they own or they understand, they're linked with the whole supply chain from air, from ship, even from their supplier. So just imagine how far they understand their whole supply chain, right? So they've also bought their own airline. They bought a lot of their own trucks, a lot of their own delivery, even contracted direct service providers, because they wanted to understand the supply chain, right? Once you know at each step, you can really adapt in any disruption. So, for example, something happens here, the information flows, tells you, okay, there's a disruption here. Immediately you can adapt, right? So, and then what happened to Amazon during, I think, December 2021, they were able to fulfill a lot of their orders, right? Because of the use of their own facilities. For example, in California, there was a big, what do you call it, a big port congestion, delays, if ever there was during a few days. Because what they did was, rather than going to California, they went to other states, maybe New Jersey or Florida or other states wherein the ports were not congested, right? So had that flexibility because they had that integrated and they own the supply chain, right? So that's one of the examples. Having a digitized, having an integrated supply chain made it more reliable for them to deliver. So that's one example. Another example is Tesla. So Tesla is a EV company. EV, they produce electronic vehicles. So I'm sure a lot of people know what Tesla is. So before the pandemic, when the pandemic happened, a lot of everybody shut down, right? All of the factories shut down. However, Tesla understood their market. They understood the supply chain far better, and they were able to better forecast the demand. So the other automotive companies like Ford, GMC, didn't buy chips. So because they thought, okay, everything is down, no one's gonna buy, let's stop production, right? However, for Tesla, they bought a lot of the chips, right? So they bought as much as they can, and then even configured it, customized it, the chip, so that they can serve their own vehicles. So what happened was, because of understanding the forecast demand, understanding their supply chain, they were the only ones able to sell it. 2021 and 2020. I think 2020, 2022 was one of their highest sales growth compared to other companies like Ford or GMC. For example, Ford, they have a lot of yards, vehicle yards that has just full of vehicles that they cannot sell because it was lacking chips, right? So as small as a chip like that, it stopped thousands and thousands of vehicles to be sold, and Tesla was the only one. So understanding this integrated nature, having them digitized forecast operations really allowed them to, to be ahead of the curve, right, compared to others. So those are the two things. So the trend is reliability, Second is integrated supply chain, and third is digitalization, right? So, but again, I don't need to belabor the point, right? The biggest opportunity is really e-commerce, right? I'm sure everybody knows already what e-commerce is. But what I'm going to do is to share numbers, because everybody knows by heart. We know that, you know, e-commerce is a big thing. Everybody's selling online. But what I want to share here are real numbers, right? So in Southeast Asia, we're second, 110 million in terms of population, second to Indonesia. Totally, we have around 589 million in population. And then e-commerce surge from 2020 to 2021 is really high, 49%, and then another 20%, and then expected to grow by 2025 around another 20%. So the growth is really high. So I'm sure food delivery, transport, e-commerce, digital goods are all here. So the growth is really high. Like what I said earlier, what the pandemic did, the only good thing that the pandemic did is really jump forward the state of digitalization, right? It jumped. We're now 10 years ahead of schedule of what we're supposed to have, and e-commerce is one of the fastest, really the forefront of it. And so we have in the ASEAN, because this is an ASEAN Southeast Asian study, there are 440 million internet users, and 14 million has grown each year since 2019, and I'm sure moving forward as adoption rolls on, is going to be higher and higher. And then adoption of digital services, like what I said, it grew substantially, especially food delivery. I'm sure everybody orders here. Food Panda, Grab Food, actually our go-to right now. It's so convenient and so easy, with minimal cost rather than just for us going out, dressing up and all of that. And that's really the highest growth area. The Philippines is actually the number one, right? In terms of growth, we're I think 93% from 2019 to 2020, and forecasted among all the different. Although in terms of compared to the other markets, we have a smaller GMV, or gross merchandise value, but we have the highest growth. We have around 93%, and expected to grow further and faster from that to catch up to all of our neighbors, right? So it's really a bright spot for us. So again, e-commerce is the biggest growth driver. Online travel still will face some challenges, but is in the internet, right? Without everything, and internet connection will be the backbone of all of this growth and infrastructure. And I'm very thankful that Eastern is there, and especially for having this type of seminar. Thank you very much. I'll be answering questions later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pierre. Oh, something just flew by me. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you so much, Pierre. You know, I think it's really interesting to get Pierre's take today, because in my opinion, pre-pandemic, supply chain was really something that we took for granted. Maybe we didn't really take the time so much to learn about it so much, or to really pay much attention to it. What matters was that the package arrived at our door, or that our supplies arrived at our shop, and that's all there is to it. But it was so fascinating to get these case studies and an in-depth look. So I'm really excited for the questions that are coming up for Pierre a little bit later. We'll be hearing from him later during our question and answer segment. But before we head to that segment, let's move things along to our third speaker of the day. Let's read a little bit more about him right now. As the National Partnership Manager of Kacific Broadband Satellites Group, he oversees the distribution channel operations, local partnerships, and resellers in the Philippines to connect unserved and underserved communities in the region. Let's all welcome to our screens Kacific Broadband Satellite National Strategic Partnership Manager, Mr. Gino Belgira.
Thank you, Carla, and a pleasant day to everyone. I would like to thank our partner, Eastern Communications, for this opportunity to represent Kacific Broadband Satellites Group and the Pacific. We have partnered with top and the Pacific. We have partnered with top global companies to deliver high-quality service in the countries that we serve today. Kacific was able to raise funding of 50 million USD with the Asia Development Bank and Garantco to launch the Kacific 1 satellite, which was manufactured by Boeing and launched by SpaceX in Cape Canaveral, Florida. We work with ST Engineering to provide advanced and efficient VSAT equipment and Kratos for our multi-site gateways located across the region in Australia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Our vision is to banish digital darkness that is prevalent especially in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, using latest satellite technology to provide affordable, reliable, and high-speed satellite broadband. We aim to enable businesses, governments, and communities to participate in the digital world to drive economic growth and improve lives. The Kacific 1 satellite uses state-of-the-art technology to provide fast and reliable internet connectivity across the regions that it serves. It uses high-throughput satellite technology, which utilizes 56 dedicated spot beams to efficiently reuse its capacity to deliver high-throughput broadband at a more affordable price. Leveraging on Ka-band technology also allows us to offer speeds of up to 100 Mbps or higher to enable a variety of online use cases and applications powered by our ground infrastructure or teleports. Today, Kacific 1 services over 25 countries, including the Philippines, where we have 6 dedicated spot beams that delivers high broadband capacity across all 7,600 islands, from Batanes in the north to Sulu, Tawi-Tawi in the south, to connect business centers and remote islands in the country and everywhere in between. We are the only operator to offer Ka-HTS technology in the Philippines with 2 local teleports or hubs to provide high uplink availability all year round. Our primary teleport is located in Subic Bay, and a secondary redundancy teleport is located in Clark, Pampanga. HTS, or high throughput satellite technology, makes use of spot beams to efficiently deliver high-speed broadband where it is needed most, focusing on remote populated islands and far-flung communities that lack access to internet infrastructure. Using satellite technology, enterprises have access to last-mile connectivity to enable remote operations anywhere and at any time. How it works is a simple setup of a very small aperture terminal or VSAT equipment composed of a 1.2-meter antenna that is connected to a modem and transceiver that simply requires a clear line of sight to the satellite in space to provide internet access for households and enterprises anywhere in the country 24/7. The VSAT equipment can be rapidly deployed and installed in just a few hours, easily connecting 10, 25, or even 60 concurrent users, and can even be powered using solar panels. Today, we have connected over 2,000 sites in the Philippines across a wide range of segments from education to government services, tourism, healthcare, disaster response, and also various industry verticals, notably in manufacturing and supply chain. As a reliable internet connection has become imperative for businesses today who aim to streamline and aggregate their operations, Ronnie from Express Freight Management shares his experience on how using the internet connectivity of our partner internet service provider FusionNet in Papua New Guinea and Solomon, powered by Kacific, has helped to empower his business. Please enjoy this short video.
Ronnie from Express Freight Management. We've been using FusionNet for some time now, but before we had this FusionNet, we had some really nightmares in what we're using before because it's very slow. Apart from that, it's very expensive. But when the government announced about their project of interlinking with the fiber, we were really surprised by it. And then we connected with a certain provider, but it was really expensive, but we're only getting 5 Mbps. But when somebody recommended us FusionNet, it really worked for us. Now we can access all the things that we really need, especially now that we are using cloud for our email and our systems, our files. Everything is in cloud, which is really working good for us. Really appreciate it. Apart from work, we can now access YouTube, Netflix on our residence, which is really good for us, especially now that we haven't been home for some time. So FusionNet is the best. I believe it will help you as well. Thank you, FusionNet.
In partnership with Eastern Communications, we have connected a number of logistics and FMCG companies to provide internet connectivity for their remote office branches. Using the high-speed internet via Kacific One, they are now able to conduct teleconferencing, increase efficiency in terms of stock management, and access a variety of online applications to keep business operational. Here are a few photos of some of the installations done here in the Philippines. And through Eastern Communications, we also have a few solutions that could enable your business to stay connected using satellite technology. Kickstarter is a turnkey solution that offers satellite internet through a selection of available internet plans through Eastern Communications that offers speeds suitable for small businesses and large enterprises, ranging from 40 Mbps, comprised of 30 Mbps download and 10 Mbps upload, going up to 120 Mbps of speeds, comprised of 120 Mbps download and 20 Mbps upload. It is a fully managed service that offers flexibility to end users. In addition, the enterprise backup offers high security and stable connectivity that is available for enterprises with existing internet providers, but require a redundancy connectivity via VSAT and is paid per consumption. This is ideal, especially for remote businesses located in disaster-prone areas that may require a secondary internet in case of a fiber cut or intermittent mobile connectivity. And with that, I'd like to summarize that today, satellite technology is even more viable and available to provide high-speed, affordable, and reliable internet connection for enterprises regardless of scale. This is particularly useful for enterprises who may need last-mile connectivity to connect remote branches and to ensure business operations continue 24/7. I would like to thank you all for your time, and I'd like to turn it back to you, Carla. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gino, and of course, more from him later during our Q&A panel. You know, I really gotta agree that, and I think many of you will agree that connectivity is increasingly essential to our existence as things are, and there are fewer and fewer situations wherein slow and overly expensive connectivity is still excusable, really. And it's so encouraging to see organizations like Kacific hard at work to make sure that, you know, more and more people, more and more businesses and individuals, you know, are alleviated from that problem. So again, in a short while, we're going to be having our Q&A session. But before that, we will be holding that electronic raffle that I mentioned earlier in the program, where we have some exciting prizes for you. Now, if you haven't joined us before here on eHuddle, we're very happy to welcome you. And let me explain how it works. Very, very simple. During the registration, we already gathered all of your names and automatically added them to the roster of possible winners. And so we've got a couple of great prizes lined up. We're gonna show that screen right now, showing what is at stake. Our minor prizes are that RK61 mechanical keyboard, a Royal Kludge, and a Logitech C920 Pro HD webcam. So those two we're giving away right now, and later on you can hold out hope for that major prize, which is a SanDisk portable SSD. So how do you know if you win? Very, very simple. Keep your eyes on the screen. We're going to be flashing the names of our winners in just a few moments. If you happen to see that it is your name, all you have to do is take a screenshot and follow the instructions you see on your screen right now. So you take that screenshot, email it to us later at marketing@etpi.com.ph with the subject line Eastern eHuddle's 27 July 2022 raffle. And don't forget to include all of the information you see here on the screen. We, of course, want to get these prizes into your hands as soon as possible. Alrighty, folks, let's start with those two minor prizes, beginning with the RK61 mechanical keyboard. We all love this mechanical keyboard craze going on right now. So let's roll that drum roll and see who has a new mechanical keyboard to tinker with. Congratulations to, who is it gonna be? Andrea and Antonio, congratulations to you. Oh, that's the winner of the Logitech webcam, my bad. That one first, the C920 HD webcam. Congratulations, Andrea, and don't forget to take that screenshot right about now. We'll give you a couple more seconds to do that. Okay, so up next is the winner of that RK61 mechanical keyboard. Let's roll that drum roll one more time and say congratulations to our second winner of the day, second and final minor prize, Elmer John Puntapay. Congratulations, Elmer. Take a screenshot. We'll give you a few more seconds to do that. And don't forget to follow those instructions we shared earlier in order to claim your prizes. Okay, congratulations to our winners. If it wasn't your name on the screen, don't be too sad about it, because you might be destined for that major prize coming up later after our Q&A. Now, before we move things along, we have a very important QR code that will be flashing on the screen. If you know Eastern, you know how much your feedback matters. And so we really hope you'll take some time to scan this QR code. That is our post-event feedback form. And guess what? 50 of you, 50 lucky people who fill out that form will also get a chance to win an e-voucher from Giftaway. Every episode here on eHuddle. All right, while you're at it, let's invite our speakers of the day back on screen. We are now opening our panel for your questions. Let's welcome back on screen Mr. Dindo Cabatingan, Mr. Pierre Carlo Curay, and Mr. Gino Belgira. Gentlemen, welcome. There
Hello.
we are. Okay, let's just go down the panel here, left to right, make sure that we're all seen and heard just fine. Pierre, let's start with you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfect. Loud and
Thank you.
clear. Dindo?
Hi, Carla.
Lovely. Gino?
Hello, good day, everyone.
Great. You know how it is, folks. We always got to check, no matter how confident we are in our tech. We always got to check. All right, gentlemen. Of course, Dindo knows the drill. He's been on eHuddle quite a few times already, but we're going to go across the board with a couple of general questions, wherein all three of you will be answering the same question. Then after that, I'll be going down the panel again one by one with more specialized questions for each of you. Sound good?
Sure.
All right, let's hop to it. First general question of the day goes like this. In this digital era, innovation has been a buzzword for most businesses. How do you think businesses can even further their business development through digital transformation post-COVID? Pierre, let's start with you.
Yeah, that's a really great question. The saying is that if you don't innovate, if you don't digitize, if you don't innovate, you die, right? A lot of companies right now, especially the pandemic, sad to see, but a lot of them, they were not able to adapt. They were not able to innovate, so they had to close down. But if you notice, those that are still remaining, those that survived, innovated. As simple as putting their product online, or creating a Instagram or a TikTok video of their product, brought them sales. Right? There are countless of stories, right? Countless of stories like that. But you see, it's really, you see both. You see traveling around during the height of the pandemic, 2020, 2021, you see a lot of stores closed, right? But those who survived really innovated. And how they innovated is through digitalization, using the internet, right? So as the backbone of it all. So post-COVID, it's just going to be the same. If you're not online, if you don't have digitalization as part of your operations, those who are digitized will outcompete you. So that's just basically it. So post-COVID, focus on finding the right partner, finding the right solution, and really have a digital transformation plan.
Absolutely. It's so appalling now, I think, to walk into a restaurant or to go into a business and you say, oh, can I use my digital wallet to pay for this purchase? And they say, oh, sorry, cash only. It's appalling now.
True.
This only happened in a couple of years.
Agree. That's correct.
So it's fascinating. Like Dindo mentioned in his presentation, this whole pandemic situation really accelerated people embracing that digital transformation. So Dindo, maybe you could share with us your thoughts on this question.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I totally agree with Sir Pierre. But for me, personal and professional life in the post-COVID era is definitely increasingly digital. So I noted before that digital revolution expedited by the pandemic, and the brands need to know what is on their customers' mind at any given time. So they need to keep their eyes on the prize, which is the customer. And turning customer data into useful is very critical. So don't forget to put your words into action and create useful insights from data that you collect and analyze, then innovate around those insights to meet your customers' demands and close holes in your business. And that has been said before, innovate with purpose. So with this in mind, look for a partner who can help you identify the best solutions for your organizations.
Thanks, Dindo. And that's really been it's really been a battle cry, I think, for Eastern to make sure you've got the high tech and high touch. It's really one of my favorite things about Eastern, that you pursue these two things equally. Don't listen to what the customer needs or how the customer's needs are changing. So it reminds me of Gino's presentation, where in that video there is that man who was paying so much money for 5 megabytes per second, and that's unacceptable at this point. And so I think we're kind of tying, your presentations are all tying together quite nicely with this first question. Gino, maybe we could get your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to echo a couple of to better serve the changing customer demand. So digital transformation, I think, really requires looking at the value chain and understanding what areas can truly benefit from new technologies to ultimately improve customer service and business efficiency given available resources.
Absolutely. And I think we're all in really common or really aligned, I would say, answers from the three of you for this first question, that we can't ignore digital transformation, or we can't think that as early as now we made a few tweaks, okay, we're done. It's ever changing, it's ever evolving, but it's not change for change's sake. I think all of you have expressed how it needs to be aligned with your business's needs to make sense. So I've got one more general question for the three of you. Pierre, I'll bring it back around to you. What should businesses who are digitally innovating consider in choosing the right tech partner?
Oh wow. It's just reliability, right? Even, like we said earlier, in supply chain, what used to be before, it's all about cost, right? Logistics is all about cost. The lower the cost, that's normally what you take. But now, everybody, 70% is saying reliability, right? So, gone are the days that, you'll see the, what do you call that? The circle thing when it's loading, right? If you see that, everybody will get upset. So, ano to? Diba? So I'm sure everybody here will have the same sentiments. We're already super spoiled. We're super spoiled that, we shouldn't have any lag. We shouldn't have any, yung kanina, diba? 5 Mbps. that's really low for business operations, right? Email sending pa lang ng attachments will be very slow already. And now everybody wants it now, right? Everybody wants it now. So reliability is the biggest thing. Again, that's how you choose a partner. It doesn't make sense to get the lowest cost, but your products or service, it's not gonna happen. Like what I said earlier, my example is that sometimes even when I order, if I was told that the delivery is next day, I would rather look for someone who can deliver now, right? So that's really the trend, and that's, I think, moving forward, because all of us consumers are spoiled. So it's reliability, choosing the right partner.
Absolutely, and that applies, I think, across all industries pretty much. I mean, very basic example is I have this favorite restaurant that I go to for one specific dish. Everything else is just a bonus, but I go there specifically for their tortilla chips, and you can get a whole bowl of it, and it's great. And their supply chain failed them, and for many weeks, it stopped coming in, and so I would keep coming back and is it here yet, or can I get this yet? And they say, no, wala pa yung supply, wala pa yung supplier, didn't deliver. And after a while, your customer gets tired of wondering or taking a guess on if that thing that they need is here or not. So I think what you mentioned definitely affects your customer relationships.
I think I know that restaurant. I like their chips.
You see, I think you got the one. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I miss them a lot.
I know. Me too.
Gino, let's get your thoughts on this one. What should
Sure.
businesses do in choosing the right tech partner?
Yeah, thank you. Just adding on to reliability, I think choosing a technology or provider should also be very much aligned to the transformation objectives of a business, given the business's available resources. A few things maybe to consider as well, aside from reliability, would be security. Would the technology be secure? How can we mitigate vulnerabilities? Does it address short and long-term opportunities? And are the necessary support systems in place to maintain or even sustain the technology that you invest in? So in our experience in satellite, while VSAT technology has proven to be a viable solution to provide internet in remote areas, there are a lot of variables that require immediate after-sales support, for example, to ensure zero downtime. And that's where critical and established partners like Eastern, if I may plug, comes in and really helps to maximize the return on investment with these types of technologies and solutions.
Thanks for that, Gino. And what you mentioned about security, I think, ties in well with what Pierre was mentioning earlier about how so many more of us now are embracing e-commerce, embracing, doing these money transactions online. We're doing our shopping. We're getting more and more comfortable sending out more of our money online, or putting more of our business or our sensitive information of our businesses online. And so, we want to be sure that connectivity and our connections in that sense are reliable, and that there are no vulnerabilities that will make us sort of regress in our digital transformation because we don't trust it anymore. So thanks for that, Gino. Dindo, let's get your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, sure. And I'd like to answer these questions in a different perspective.
Sure.
A company wants to improve a process, add in new solutions, or alter business models, it should consider collaborating with a third-party technology or ICT provider. And I'd like to underscore this with an established track record. So this partner should have solutions for your company's problems, issues, and it's also crucial to know their expertise and product quality. So their products and services should be reliable as well. So for me, the most critical issue is whether the ICT supplier you're considering has a great customer service and a dependable IT partner who can provide technical expertise and best-in-class solutions so you may focus on your business goals and vision.
Thanks, Dindo. And I'm going to take a turn this time to do some plugging because I know a certain ICT provider that's been around for 100 years now. So I wonder who that is. Just take a look at the corner, upper right corner over there. Thanks, Dindo. All right, gentlemen, let's move on now to our individual questions, shall we? So I'm going to bring it back around to Pierre. This one here, specific to supply chain. This one here says, to what extent are supply chain sectors experiencing issues adapting to new business practices in today's regular business climate?
Supply chain, supply chain and logistics is all about firefighting. So for the longest time, supply chain practitioners is all about making sure, because when you really look at it, us consumers, when we receive our goods, right, the only 2 points that we have is ordering to the app or getting it and then getting it on your door, right? Or you go to the mall, you buy it, right? But there's so many steps before it gets to that point. Right? So there's the raw materials, the supplier, the manufacturing, the transport, first mile, middle mile, last mile, bringing it up to the level to the where the consumer can consume or the customer can buy, right? So a lot of things has changed in the past 2 years, and I think it's for the better. For example, in what used to be a lot of paper back and forth for billing. Especially in the institutional buyers, FMCGs, you have to bring your what do you call this, your paper billing manually, right? Bring it to the customer, right? So that you can bill. This time it's all digital. There's already a platform that you can plug it in and automates all the tasks. Right, it automates the task of the accountant. It automates the task of billing. So rather than waiting 1 week, it can be done in just a few hours. Right, so that's one. The other major change, which we've been trying to pursue for the longest time. You know what? Just to give a short insight, way back 2019, 80% to 90% of supply chain stakeholders or steps in the supply chain, from inventory, warehouse. 80% was all manual. So imagine just way back 2019, before the pandemic. Now, I think maybe around 50%. Hopefully lower a lot, but it's really improving because they really see that the benefit and change of digitalizing, automating, a lot of this manual tasks. Right, and we see a lot of innovation that's been happening. But like what I said earlier, the base and the foundation is really the internet. You have to have, again, plugging in Eastern, you have to have a very reliable internet for that one. So you cannot do that without the foundation for it. So yeah, that's the current changes.
I'm glad to hear this. I guess in supply chain in particular, with the uncertainty of everything of the pandemic, maybe for the default for many is to focus on the struggles, the challenges. And so it's nice to hear that, there is a silver lining to this, that, as we've been talking about this afternoon, there's really been this, I guess a forced push into this transformation era of ours. But it's really good to see how it's it's improving processes, it's speeding up processes, and
Yes.
that's something that we're experiencing across multiple industries, not just in supply chain, but in even something as simple as getting a document signed. You
Yes.
know, before it would have to physically go from office A to office B to office C and back around to
Yeah.
office A, and now you've got these secure, even with control numbers, signing applications that make it very, quick and simple. So
Exactly.
thanks for that, Pierre. Gino, I'll toss you an individual question here. Here we go. This one here says, connectivity has long been important, not just in our work, but in our day-to-day lives. But has it become particularly important in the past 2 years as we turn to online for work, study, enjoyment, by necessities and wants? What is the role of internet connectivity in future-proofing the local supply chain post-pandemic?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And going back to what Pierre mentioned earlier, internet is really the backbone for this digital transition, right? And as mentioned, the past 2 years, while we've seen this acceleration in terms of digital adoption through the number of various examples that were shared earlier in education, online transactions, and whatnot, while that is true, I should say that there are still a number of studies today that shows a vast number of Filipinos, over 32%, that would be about almost close to 40 million Filipinos, still lack access to terrestrial internet infrastructure. So what we see is that there is a widening gap in terms of the digital divide, where those without internet access are further left behind. So without internet, these remote and underserved communities and businesses are disenfranchised. And internet plays a very critical role, or major role, I would say, in the overall economic development, and it's already considered, I would say, a basic necessity today. So what we propose is, through satellite technology, we aim to address these gaps in connectivity, especially across these unserved communities and businesses, so they can also participate in the digital world and really distribute the economic opportunity and growth, not just in central business districts, but also in the regions as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good work you're doing, Gino, because, especially in that first scramble of 2020, when everybody got immediately cut off, everybody stay home, school, work, everybody cut off. And, there was that scramble for everybody to adapt to working and studying online, and really came out how many people didn't have the resources to do their work at home, didn't have the resources to study at home. And so if 15, 20 years ago, the first building block was to have a computer, now the first building block is to have proper connectivity, I would say, because now it's already an assumption that you have a smart device. And so if you don't have internet, if you don't have access to the online world and to do your work online, you're very much disenfranchised, like you mentioned. So really, listening to your presentation earlier, it's really good to see that, these options are coming out and these efforts are ongoing to serve those communities that currently are not, being reached just yet. Dindo, let's throw one your way. This question here says, what technology levers are non-negotiable in the supply chain sector, and which are game-changing technologies that businesses considering or already involved in the supply chain cannot afford to overlook? What's our
Well,
non-negotiable there?
that's a very good question, Carla. Well, let's go back to the basics, like brick and mortar. We have all embraced digital, and you will be left behind if you do not embrace the click and mortar now. So yes, cliche as it may sound, but true. So digital is being the basic now. So my two imperatives and non-negotiables for supply chains are resilient yet reliable connectivity, and two, reduced cost of doing business.
I think so. Yes.
Oh.
Thanks, Dindo. Maybe it's a bit of a, it's a flashy term, right? To say click and mortar. It's a trendy thing to say, but it definitely makes sense because, a lot of people, especially here in the Philippines, we're still very much a mall culture. We still love going out to the mall. We still love going to these brick and mortar stores. But we have learned in these last 2 years, especially, how important it is, or how easy and how we can actually trust e-commerce. And so, having that mix has become so important, especially in the Filipino setting. Pierre, let me throw another one to you here. This one here says, we have seen a lot of changes in the way businesses operate and respond to their customers in the last 2 years, with the pace of change accelerating and the adoption of innovative solutions being fast-tracked. What have you noticed has taken place, and where do you believe we are going to go from here, according to your observations?
It's going to be, well, it's going to be a fascinating place, in the future. It's like, if you really look at it, it is I don't know if you I'm sure you're still young. You haven't seen some of the shows that we have during my time, the Jetsons, the futuristic. The
Still reach the Jetsons, naman.
Oh yeah. So
flying cars.
The flying cars. So it's happening now, and I'm quite really excited. Didn't expect it to be happening during our time, but it's an exponential growth. I remember early 1900s was the first invention of the airplane. The Wright brothers, right? And then just 60 years. I think 60 years, we were able to put a man in the moon, right? So just imagine the pace of innovation that has been happening. And now everything is in the click of the hand. Next will be AI. There will be a lot of AI that's happening, blockchain, especially in supply chain. So it's going to be a very integrated world. I think I'm not sure yet, but I think metaverse will a digital world that we'll be living in, and you can shop online, you can shop and it's brought to you, connect. I've seen what we're doing now can be like a physical thing. It looks physical, but we're all at home. A more metaverse version of this type of meetings. And then I'm seeing a lot of digital twins, meaning when we want to monitor a warehouse, we can be at our homes, but we can be physically there also. Like a metaverse version when we check out an item, you're at home, but you're there, right? So those are the things that I'm seeing. AI will be a big thing. Big data will be a big thing, especially with supply chain, because that's really optimization of operations, of process flows will be taken from all of this data, and we need AI to really churn out, make sense of this data. So the future is going to be bright. I'm not even sure what we'll see in the future. Hopefully, Matrix will be way off. The Terminator will not be here yet. But I'm really excited also for the future.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get those robot squids coming after us just yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for that, Pierre. And I really am excited for all of this Web 3.0 AI technology, and I really am excited for what it's going to mean for us, particularly in the Philippines, and how soon or how quickly we'll get up to speed or even keep up as it's happening. Gino, maybe you could shed some light on this one when it comes to the Philippines. This here question says, an ongoing concern for businesses, especially here in the Philippines, is always the reliability of our IT infrastructure. We are a disaster-prone country, and our networks have yet to catch up with demand, especially in more rural parts of the country. How is satellite broadband a viable solution for emerging remote enterprises?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Carla. So as shared earlier as well in the presentation, satellite technology has evolved tremendously over the past years. And right now it has become a truly viable and affordable solution to address unconnected and unserved parts, especially rural areas of the country. So unlike terrestrial internet infrastructure, what you can do is you can connect small communities and businesses with just one single dish, which is as small as 1.2 meters wide, so it can easily be carried by one person. It can be easily transported and installed in less than half a day, and can be powered even by solar to connect these businesses with speeds up to 100 Mbps or even more. So this is more than enough throughput generally for enterprises to handle typical online applications such as online video calls, doing live streaming, downloading and uploading of files, and also other types of enterprise applications. But the technology is also well suited as a redundant connectivity. So in case you have businesses that experience fiber outage or mobile tower damages, especially those located in disaster-prone areas, satellite can serve as a backup as well to keep those online mission-critical activities active. I should also say that what we have done in the Philippines is we have democratized the cost of VSAT. So going back to what Pierre mentioned earlier on the high cost of logistics due to the topography of the Philippines, what we have done is we have actually lowered the cost of installation by investing in regional warehouses, not just in Manila, but also in Cebu and Davao, to cater to the Visayas and Mindanao requirements to reduce the shipping cost and also the time to deliver the equipment where it's needed. So this also helps bring down the cost ultimately to end users. And furthermore, we've also developed a nationwide distribution channel. So this is composed of locally embedded satellite technicians who have experience in installation. So they do the setup of the VSAT anywhere in the country. And with our partnership with Eastern Communications, of course, we're able to deliver high quality service and alternative internet connectivity, and even layer on additional value-added solutions to support the local businesses.
Thanks, Gino. That's really exciting information, I think, because I'm not so sure about current times. So for the longest time, the Philippines was one of the highest on the list for Southeast Asia when it came to the highest cost but the slowest speed, if I'm not mistaken, for the traditional internet connection. And so to hear of an alternative coming up that is especially accessible for these far-flung areas, I guess one of the cons of being an archipelago is that you've got so many of these remote islands that don't have that prioritized infrastructure that could take quite a long time to put together. And so to hear of this coming together, I think really is an exciting prospect for the Philippines in particular. So thanks for sharing that news with us. Dindo, I've got another question for you here.
Sure.
This one says, in your opinion, is there another disruption in the supply chain in the Philippines? What aspects should the government place greater emphasis on to make the supply chain more future-proof? I think this is extra timely because of today's earthquake. I hope everybody watching is safe and sound. But this is quite well aligned, I think. What's your thought on this, Dindo?
Thank you for that question, Carla. So we have seen that the supply chain has been able to tolerate changes over the past 2 years as a result of ICT boost, and which refers to connectivity and communications technology. So the government must keep on working on the ICT initiatives like digitalization and automation of their command center so that more people can use of them, especially the happenings in this today. So whenever we talk about the democratization in the delivery of technology throughout the country, this is already what we are doing in Eastern. That's
absolutely. Thanks, Dindo. And I can really attest to that because we've been having these e-huddles for quite some time now, and we're getting periodic updates. We're getting these updates on what Eastern has been up to, and to see really these developing plans, the rollouts of those plans. It really goes to show how Eastern is always on its toes about these things, and that it's something that you don't sleep on. It's something that you're always have the ball rolling about. So thanks so much for that, Dindo. I've got one last question for our Q&A that we have time for, and this one's for Pierre. This one says, the transition towards a future-proof supply chain can be daunting, with so many moving parts and elements to consider. We talk about being able to access systems from anywhere, being able to trace the movements of goods down to the street level, and of course, being in platforms where our customers are online and offline. So what should businesses consider when pursuing a resilient and future-proof supply chain? What elements are most important?
Okay, that's really a great question. I've gotten that a lot with all of my speaking engagements. So there are really basically three, I think, two major things. One is what we call an integrated supply chain, right? You have to know your suppliers, right? You have to know at each step so that you can adapt quickly, right? When disruption happens, you can adapt quickly, you can make changes, you can adjust accordingly. So we've been doing that in our operations. I've seen this is how FMCG, the big multinationals, does it, right? They know their suppliers. They know even to the pinaka raw material basis. They know where do they get their raw materials, right? Up to the distributor, up to the consumer level, they know, right? So and they track, and with all of that, they track all of that information. It allows them to be disruption proof. So understanding this, for example, Nestle, like what Gino said earlier, they have different distribution centers, manufacturing centers across the Philippines. One in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. They can, at the sudden notice, can deliver goods from one point to another. Of course, currently they're trying to see where is the least cost, is the most cost effective. But for example, I forgot the one in Tacloban, the big storm, right, where 1 month in Tacloban was devastated. The FMCGs were the first one to actually get in to bring goods, right? A few days, 1 week in, they were ready. They know they already have a plan because they understood their supply chain. They understood now when this happens, they have a disaster. They will source it from here. That network allowed them to be the first ones in terms of bringing goods. And helping our fellow countrymen. So that's really the advantage of that. That's one, really an integrated supply chain. Second one is that digitalization. It will be difficult to manage all of that information, all of that stakeholders, all of that steps, all of that different people, different processes, if it's all manual, right? So that's why we need digitalization, so that information flow, which is as important as product flow, as cash flow, information flow will course through faster. And this will allow, again, like what I said earlier, it's going to allow faster turnaround times, faster pivots, adapt more seamlessly. So that's where the two things the most important when we're talking about, how to be more resilient in the supply chain.
Absolutely. On that first part, first of all, I'm stealing that phrase. Your suppliers. Know your suppliers. That's really good. That's a great tip. And number two, I think gone are the days when it was okay this is my plan A. Maybe I'll have a plan B. And if we're extra prepared, maybe we'll have a plan C. But we're good. But now I think, I don't think over planning is a thing anymore, because like your Nestle example, it really pays off to have all of these, a plan all the way up to plan Z, maybe to be extra prepared, because there are all these unpredictabilities that come up now, and it's so much more common to face them. So, gentlemen, that's all the time we've got for our question and answer portion. But before I let you go, hope you don't mind, I'm going to ask each of you for a brief parting message. Let's bring it back around to you again, Pierre. Quick message for our viewers today.
Yes, first and foremost, thank you for attending, or thank you for listening. I hope we are able to provide value and learn something from what you've shared. And again, it's going to be an exciting time in the next few years as innovation ramps up. For example, the satellite internet. I was really listening intently earlier. That's going to change a lot of things. I've been in the supply chain space for the longest time, and connectivity, especially in the far-flung areas, especially in the mountainous areas, is really a problem. And having that will really change, democratize. That's a perfect term. Democratize information, democratize data in supply chain. We need the information. We need the data, and having those solutions will be. That's why I'm excited for the near term, in the future, as innovations like that pushes forward. So thank you again, especially to Eastern, being a reliable partner. Looking forward to changing the world. We'll start in the Philippines, but changing the world. Thank you.
Great insights today, Pierre. Thank you so much for your time. Gino, maybe you have a quick parting message for us today?
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to thank again Eastern Communications for this opportunity to speak to you all. I hope that the presentation was able to add some insights and value to your respective businesses. And I think what's clear is that from this session is really the importance of the supply chain overall, not just in terms of economic development, but also in terms of nation building. And we're very happy to be a partner of Eastern to contribute there. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, Gino. And I guess we can't stress it enough today how exciting really it is to see what you're rolling out for the Philippines. So can't wait to see what you got in store. Dindo, maybe you could wrap things up for us today. Your quick parting message for today's viewers.
Yeah, sure. It's my pleasure. So thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon, especially to you, Carla. And of course, not to mention to my co-panelists, Sir Pierre Carlo Curay and Sir Gino Belgira. And it's my pleasure to share the same stage with you. So we hope that we were able to share relevant insights that would help be in a better position to adapt to the changes in how business, life, and will be conducted moving forward. So as mentioned by Sir Pierre, we are truly living in the future now. So more than anything, we are at Eastern Communications are your partners in navigating the new business landscape. So please do not hesitate to contact us. And we are looking forward to hearing from you. So stay curious, Micah Eastern. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thanks so much, Dindo. And of course, thank you to Team Eastern for creating this space for us to have these great conversations. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. We really appreciate your presentations and, of course, your conversations here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, let's share our appreciation in the chat box, shall we? I hope we can all leave a little message for all of our speakers today for those great insights. Now, everyone, at this point, we will proceed to our major raffle prize of the day. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten. It is time to give away that 1 terabyte Extreme Portable SSD. There they are. We have already given away those minor prizes. Now it's time to give away that final but major prize of the day. If you missed the instructions earlier, it is very, very simple. We're going to be flashing the name of the winner on the screen. If you happen to see that it is yours, all you have to do is take a screenshot and follow these instructions you see right now on your screen. There you go. So just make sure you email it to us with, of course, all of the very important contact information you see here on the screen. We want to get these prizes into your hands as soon as possible. All right, let's hop to it. We're gonna roll that drum roll. The name of the name that was picked by our electronic raffle is, who's it gonna be? Our final big winner of the day, Marvin Espiritu. Marvin, you have to take that screenshot right now. We'll give you a few seconds to do that, but congratulations to you. All right, that was our last raffle prize of the day. But don't you worry, folks, because Eastern, of course, just loves, like I keep saying, loves to shower you guys with gifts and with prizes. So here's another chance. We're flashing the QR code of our post-event feedback form right now. There it is. We hope you take a minute to scan that, because 50 of you will have the chance to win a special giveaway voucher just by filling out this form. Easy peasy, right? All right. So again, congratulations to all of our winners. It is almost time to say goodbye, but before we do that, let's hear from the head of sales of Eastern Communications. Let's welcome on our screens, Mr. Michael Castañeda.
Thank you, Carla. As we wrap up our session and start to apply today's learnings, most of you will think, and think. Before you do that, may I suggest that we first and foremost thank, and thank. I'm telling you, gratitude has so much power that from the past e-huddles up to now, they have assembled great minds, great ideas, and best of all, people with passion, people with heart. Our speakers this afternoon gave us an idea of what to expect in the coming months and years. Thanks to those insights, we now have a better understanding of what to prepare for, and our boundless talent and hard work, coupled with solid response plan, will see us through. And as we have witnessed through our Ignite webinars, our fellow businessmen are generous enough to lend us a helping hand and a great advice when we need it. I sincerely believe this will aid our success in transitioning to the post-COVID future. That is all for now. And once again, thank you. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, as always, Sir Mike. And of course, thank you to all of you, our dear Ka-Easterns, for joining us this afternoon. It is always such a pleasure to be here and to learn together. And we hope that together we will continue to rise and emerge stronger. Once again, this is Carla Barreto, your host, signing off. We hope to see you again at the next e-huddle happening on August 10th. Until then, have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, everyone.